Okay, James is saying, hey, Phil, do you agree with the guitarologist that Guitar Center will not last now that they're rated CCC minus? I don't agree. Here's what he's missing. He's missing some information. So what happens, okay? First of all, Guitar Center, so if you guys don't know what happened, Guitar Center's got their credit rating downgraded again. So at this point, they have to, if they were to, Guitar Center was going to buy a car, they have to go to a buy here, pay here car dealership and have a cosigner. It's a little joke. Anyways, the point is the Guitar Center's credit rating has been downgraded again. It was downgraded, I believe, in September and maybe in May. Either way, this is the second or third downgrade this year. The downgrade puts them right above bankruptcy imminent. The important part is the bankruptcy part. Guitar Center may be forced, and it looks like it's not evident, but close, that they'll have to file bankruptcy, a Chapter 11. They're not looking to file a Chapter 7. They're going to do a reorganization, a Chapter 11. Let me explain this to you. Guitar Center is profitable. They just can't make enough money to pay their debt. That's an important part. They have viable businesses. Musician's Friend is a viable business. It's profitable. Music and Arts has a rental programs. That is a viable business. A lot of the Guitar Center stores are profitable. Some of the Guitar Center stores are not profitable. What I would imagine is going to happen, and we'll see. We'll reference this video in a year and see who's right. He could be right, I could be right, but I'm really betting on me. Here's why. Guitar Center will, if they file for Chapter 11, kind of like American Airlines and a ton of other companies that have filed, one of two things could happen, or both. One, they could be bought out by a hostile takeover. Once you file for Chapter 11, you're in distress. A company would pretty much want to acquire you on pennies on the dollar. So could an investment company come buy Guitar Center? Yes. Would they? Yes, because as much as we hate Guitar Center, they are a dominant force. They're like 30% of the market. So even if the theory is that no one's going to retail stores anymore, Guitar Center is still a heavy player in the internet world and dominant in this industry. So it is a viable business to buy if it isn't loaded with debt, which would be shed off in a bankruptcy. Now, if they don't get bought and they file Chapter 11 to reorganize, because that's what would happen, it's a restructure reorganization, they would probably close a bunch of stores that are the lowest profit stores, shed off some creditors, which is going to suck for the creditors, and reorganize and come back differently with a better business model in play. But more importantly, the judge will decide in the bankruptcy what happens with the company, but the company just has to prove to the court that the bankruptcy will, think of it like surgery. They're going to take out the unhealthy organs so that the body can live. That's what a bankruptcy for a business like a Chapter 11 is to do. It's to restructure the debt. They will resettle the debt. In other words, if they owe, I heard like $600 million in 2019, that will get restructured. So they'll pay some portion of that to the creditors in the restructuring. And that change of how they will pay the debt will help them stay viable because, again, they make money. They're not in distress because they don't make money. They're in distress because they acquired too much debt over time. And there's a lot of reasons for that. When Bain Capital bought them, they shoved $400 million into that company of debt. There's a ton of things that went wrong with Guitar Center. And not to get into the politics of that, but the truth is when that happened, the theory was they were a public company, Bain bought them, made them private, shoved $400 million in debt in them, figured at the rate they were going in a couple years, offer a public offering again, clear out of that debt, and make money. And then the recession came. And then the world changed to the internet. So Guitar Center just they don't have a way to unload the debt that's been acquired. So I think what you're going to see in the next year or so is maybe Chapter 11 reorganization, with a bunch of store by you maybe closing. Where I live, there's 5 of them. I can't imagine all 5 survive. They'll probably pick the 3 top performing stores or 2 stores and go with those. Push a new business model and play. Now, let's talk about if the guitarologist is right. There's actually a horrible, horrible thing to think about. If Guitar Center does close, you can scream ding dong, the witch is dead. However, you got to understand, when Best Buy got into this industry a few years ago and then got out, okay, because they decided Best Buy got into the music business because they thought the margins were really good. What they realized was the demand isn't very high. So yeah, you get to make more per item. You get to make more than you do on a DVD and a stereo, but you don't get to sell as many guitars and amps. So when they got out of it, they're still offloading inventory from that. You got to understand, Guitar Center, if they go into bankruptcy, even the liquidation, they're not going to liquidate that inventory in a month. It'll take a year, 2 years to sell that inventory. Meanwhile, mom and pops will be really struggling because it's not like the old days where Guitar Center would liquidate at their store. They're going to liquidate online as well. So no one's going to walk into their local mom and pop store and buy a $500, $600 Mexican Strat when they're still out there being liquidated. And once they go into liquidation mode, they can't be enforced to by MAP. So if Guitar Center goes under, it's going to hurt a lot of people, not just Guitar Center. It's going to hurt the vendors. And then think about this. And then the vendors that have chose to stay away from Guitar Center. Let's talk about the smart companies. Let's take a company that doesn't deal with Guitar Center, okay? They don't sell guitars to Guitar Center. They only sell to mom and pops. They've stayed away from Guitar Center. Well, the brands that have been heavy in Guitar Center, when they lose that customer, they're going to go to the stores and the online entities that they haven't been at. And then that's going to increase the competition, and it's going to hurt so the businesses that stayed away from Guitar Center actually will have to now fight the brands that have been so heavy in Guitar Center, because they can't, like Gibson Fender, they're not going to just go, okay, well, I guess we lose our biggest client. You know what I mean? They're going to go to the mom and pops, they're going to go to the independents, or they're going to push their own online to make up the difference. And Fender has an online presence, but they don't really push it. So all these things are a big deal. This is going to really change things. But I really think what's going to happen is Guitar Center will reorganize and do a Chapter 11 reorganization and restructure. And I think the government's going to allow that to happen because, unlike, let's pick another example, Mervyn's. When Mervyn's went under, Mervyn's didn't have control of the market. So if Mervyn's went under, you had Kohl's, you had Target, you had a ton of entities, the market survives. If Guitar Center goes under, there's no Guitar Center again. Sam Ash, I love Sammy Ash. You guys seen him in the show. Great guy, great store, great chain. Sweetwater, great store, great chain. I just bought a bunch of my recording gear from Sweetwater. Great stores. They cannot acquire Guitar Center. There's no way. They're not even close to the same kind of money that's talking about to acquire that business. So there's nobody in our industry to absorb the mess of Guitar Center. It's become too much of a behemoth for anybody in our industry. So the only ones that can buy them is going to probably be investment groups outside of our industry, which is where I think what's going to happen in a Chapter 11. An investment group will buy it because it's a viable, profitable business if you can shuck off the debt, right? And last kind of thought process is, imagine if you had a lot of credit card debt, and then one day it just all went away and your income stayed the same. All of a sudden you get to keep all your money you're making. That's what will happen with them. So I think that's what's going to happen. So, and that might all happen and not even see it, Another good example, like I said, American Airlines filed bankruptcy and somebody bought them. It happens. So that's what I think is going to happen. Ed says, hey, are Musician's Friend and Guitar Center affiliated? Affiliated, yes. In fact, more than affiliated. Guitar Center does own Musician's Friend and Music and Arts. They own them outright. Those are two entities in the portfolio of Guitar Center. So Musician's Friend solely, because they're not a public company, it's solely owned by Guitar Center. So again, that's what I'm talking about, assets. Guitar Center could sell off Musician's Friend, okay, in a bankruptcy. They could sell off Music and Arts and get the revenue from that. Like I said, all they do is they present to the courts what they want to do. Like I said, think of it like I told you about. It's an unhealthy body. It's got to move some organs. Like, hey, I don't need both my kidneys, okay? I'll sell one of my kidneys. You know what I mean? They're going to sell off some stuff. I'll close these stores. In other words, like, I'll stop drinking as much and I won't smoke anymore. You know what I mean? That's what's going to happen in bankruptcy. They go to the courts and they say, look, we'll change the way we were. We have a plan now, because they have to convince the courts that they have a plan that's going to work. Hey, with this new business model and the debt reduced, we can survive. So, and I'm sure it's not going to be hard for them to get a lot of the vendors that have been supporting them to support that. Again, I'm not pro Guitar Center at all. Just that's what I think will happen based on what I know about the industry. Let's see. Yeah, see, and somebody's agreeing with me. Music and Arts and Musician's Friend will just be sold off in the Chapter 11. I agree. Yeah. They might sell them off. Because you know why? They can get a lot of money for them, and then that will help. Like I said, they're just going to reduce all their debt, restructure. It's never as easy as they just go away. Blockbuster Video went away because no one wanted to buy DVDs that way anymore. We go to Netflix now. We've found a new business model. Everybody watches movies. We just don't do it the same way we did. People still buy guitars. You know, we're not. It's not like it's a viable not a viable business anymore. So, the question is who might buy Musician Friend? You know, I don't know. You'd have to Google because they're private companies. Ever since Guitar Center is not public anymore, it's harder to find the information. You'd have to find out how much Musician's Friend's worth. You know what I mean? And what's it worth to a company? You know, think about Sam Ash. They have an online presence, so would they want, Musician's Friend just because it's a bigger online presence? Same with Sweetwater. I don't know. Couldn't tell you who would. My guess is a lot of these companies will get sold to investment companies. That's what happens in our industry a lot. Investors come in and buy stuff, so they can turn it into a very profitable company and sell it off and make money because they just want to sell it off. It's an exit strategy. It's how fast can I turn something into profit and then get rid of it. So, all right. Next question is, for some reason I can't. Oh, hold on. Okay, for some